It's just adjusting to starting and stopping. Honestly, that's all it truly is. Sometimes you're going hot, then you'll wait for a second, then you'll get cold, then get back hot, then get cold, and my arm and body wasn't used to that, so it's just an adjustment like within the body, within my arm.
The fewest reps in camp, and he's got a sore arm. Why? Well, people say he throws a lot before practice and after practice. Well, how counterproductive is that?
I'm sure there's a method to the madness.
Obviously, it was counterproductive because he's got a sore arm.
Okay, so you're using that as a negative against the kid?
I don't understand.
Jesus, God, would you give him a chance?
Well,
my God,
here's
because his arm's sore?
Yeah.
What, that's a negative? That the kid's got a sore arm?
Yes.
Because he's working too hard? The hell out of here.
Working against who?
Get out of here. You got an agenda with that. You're going to, you know what, Tone? That's going to bite you to the madness.
What is it?
He's trying to get his arm right, Tone. I'm sure he's probably practiced more now than he has at any point in his collegiate
obviously
career.
It was counterproductive because he's got a sore arm.
Tone.
Where they're getting reps and those type of things. He's working extremely hard, like all those guys are. We're still not yet through the installation schedule. We're still just introducing 2-minute yesterday. We'll introduce some different distances today, situationally. So I wouldn't really think much past that.
Yes, so if they think so, I know what I saw. That's why I charted numbers. I had numbers to prove it. He was 3 of 8 in his second set of 7-on-7.
Who was 3 of 8?
Shedeur.
Okay.
The other guy was 6 of 8. Okay. Slightly better.
Okay.
Yeah. This
is
a period where the ball is not supposed to hit the ground unless a defender wraps.
It's a 4-year plan, not a 4-week plan, heading into the opening of this season. I don't think they feel the urgency to rush either of those guys in. They want to develop them over time. And one may develop quicker than the other. They probably think it'll be Gabriel.
What do you say when you hear that narrative that the Browns are
mistreating him?
Yes.
I shake my head. I don't understand it at all. They complicated their own situation by drafting him when they did.
I can't imagine there's many people that think Dylan Gabriel's a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. I don't care where they were drafted. And if the Browns are the one team that thinks that, then I'm going to suspect it's not true. They don't know what they're doing.
I've been on every quarterback evaluation for 30 years.
Right.
I never root against anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if Dylan Gabriel's ever a legitimate starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
What if I told you that Shedeur Sanders' mysterious arm soreness that kept him off the field for 2 days wasn't about his arm at all? What if the coordinated media attacks, the suspicious rep distribution, and the systematic undermining of a quarterback posting 49 completions on 70 attempts with 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions was actually about something much bigger? This isn't just about Cleveland Browns quarterback politics. This is about the NFL's deepest fear, another Sanders taking over their league. And they'll destroy Shedeur's career before they let that happen. The NFL has always been an old boys club, controlled by owners who value conformity over charisma, system players over superstars who threaten their authority. For decades, they've managed to keep maverick influences at bay. But now they face their greatest threat yet, Deion Sanders' son, carrying not just elite talent but the Sanders name, the Sanders brand, and the Sanders ability to change the entire power dynamic of professional football. What's happening to Shedeur in Cleveland isn't random. It's systematic. It's coordinated. And when you connect all the dots, it reveals a conspiracy that goes to the very heart of how the NFL protects itself from disruption. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how they're doing it, why they're terrified, and what this means for the future of the league. To understand what's happening to Shedeur, you first have to understand what Deion Sanders represents to the NFL establishment. This isn't just about a Hall of Fame player. This is about a man who built an empire that operates completely outside traditional NFL control structures. Deion Sanders didn't just play football and fade away. He created Coach Prime, a brand that generates millions in revenue, influences recruiting at the highest levels of college football, and commands media attention that rivals entire NFL franchises. When Colorado hired him, their merchandise sales exploded. Their games became must-watch television. Their recruiting class went from afterthought to elite overnight. That's the kind of influence that makes NFL owners nervous. But here's what really terrifies them. Deion proved that individual star power can transcend institutional control. He doesn't need the NFL's permission to be relevant. He doesn't need their platforms to build his brand. He operates independently, and that independence is exactly what the league has spent decades trying to eliminate. Now imagine that influence entering the NFL through Shedeur. Not just as a player, but as a Sanders. A quarterback who comes with his own following, his own media presence, his own ability to shift narratives. Jimmy Haslam and owners like him have built their power on controlling the message, controlling the spotlight, controlling who gets elevated and who gets buried. Shedeur Sanders threatens all of that. He's not just another fifth-round pick hoping for a chance. He's a Sanders, which means he comes with leverage they can't control. When Tony Rizzo defended him on air, saying "get the hell out of here, you've got an agenda," that wasn't just about training camp politics. That was about recognizing that the attacks on Shedeur aren't normal football criticism. The NFL has always been about conformity. Quarterbacks who fit the mold, who say the right things, who don't rock the boat. Tom Brady succeeded because he played within their system. Peyton Manning thrived because he represented their ideal of quarterback leadership. But the Sanders family has never been about conformity. They've always been about excellence on their own terms. And that's exactly what the league can't tolerate. Because if Shedeur succeeds, if he becomes a star quarterback while maintaining the Sanders independence, it proves that players don't need to submit to the traditional power structure to thrive. It proves that talent and charisma can overcome institutional resistance. It proves that the old boys club isn't as powerful as they pretend to be. That's why what's happening in Cleveland isn't really about Cleveland at all. It's about sending a message to every Sanders, every independent-minded player, every athlete who thinks they can succeed without bowing to the traditional hierarchy. The message is simple: we will destroy your career before we let you threaten our control. The most telling aspect of this conspiracy isn't what's being said about Shedeur Sanders. It's who's saying it and when they're choosing to stay silent. Tony Grossi has been relentless in his attacks on Shedeur, but his pattern reveals something much more sinister than simple sports commentary. When Shedeur posted those dominant numbers, 49 of 70, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, Grossi immediately shifted to nitpicking individual drills. He was 3 of 8 in his second set of 7-on-7, Grossi said, desperately searching for any negative angle while ignoring the overall excellence. But here's what's really revealing: Grossi's complete silence when Jimmy Haslam dismissed concerns about Shedeur's treatment. When the owner himself tried to brush off the controversy, claiming he didn't see why the Browns were being seen as the bad guys, Grossi said nothing. No follow-up questions. No challenging of the narrative. Just silence. That's not journalism. That's coordination. The arm soreness incident perfectly illustrates how this system works. For 2 days, there was no explanation, no medical update, no transparency from the organization. Just a sterile, dismissive label slapped on one of the most watched rookies in the NFL. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, who was struggling with accuracy outside of safe checkdowns, continued getting first-team reps. Shedeur's own explanation revealed the absurdity. It's just adjusting to starting and stopping, honestly. Sometimes you go hot, then you'll wait for a second, then you'll get cold, then get back hot, then get cold. My arm and body wasn't used to that. This is a normal adjustment period that every rookie experiences. But somehow, only Shedeur got benched for it. The coordination becomes even more obvious when you look at the narrative management. Coach Kevin Stefanski confirmed that Shedeur is working extremely hard like all those guys are, yet the media coverage focused entirely on the soreness rather than the work ethic. The story became about weakness rather than dedication. This is classic institutional messaging. Take a normal part of the process and weaponize it against the target. Make adjustment look like inability. Make hard work look like overcompensation. Make excellence look like an accident. But the most damning evidence of coordination is the timing. Right when Shedeur was building momentum with his performance, right when fans were starting to rally behind him, suddenly there's a mysterious injury that keeps him off the field just long enough for doubt to creep in. Just long enough for Gabriel to get extra reps, just long enough for the narrative to shift from Shedeur is dominating to Shedeur has concerns. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. And when media figures like Grossi immediately jump on that narrative while ignoring the context, while staying silent about ownership's dismissive comments, while continuing to promote Gabriel despite his inferior performance, it reveals a level of coordination that goes far beyond normal sports coverage. This is what institutional resistance looks like in the modern NFL. It's not overt discrimination. It's systematic narrative manipulation designed to create the appearance of legitimate concerns while actually executing a predetermined agenda. Numbers don't lie, but organizations and media members can certainly try to make them disappear. The statistical evidence of what's happening to Shedeur Sanders is so overwhelming that it exposes the entire conspiracy in stark detail. Let's start with the undeniable facts. Shedeur Sanders has completed 49 of 70 passes in training camp with 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That's a 70% completion rate with a perfect touchdown to interception ratio. These aren't just good numbers for a rookie. These are elite numbers for any quarterback at any level. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel's performance has been consistently underwhelming. According to multiple camp observers, Gabriel's accuracy evaporates outside of safe, short checkdowns. His routes go uncovered, timing falls apart, passes sail high or die short. Yet somehow, when Shedeur was sidelined with arm soreness, Gabriel got every meaningful rep. But here's where the conspiracy becomes undeniable. Tony Grossi, who has been desperately searching for any way to criticize Shedeur, had to reach for a single drill performance to find fault. He was 3 of 8 in his second set of 7 on 7, Grossi said. The other guy was 6 of 8. Slightly better. Think about that for a moment. Grossi had to cherry-pick one specific drill, in one specific set, to find a scenario where Gabriel outperformed Shedeur. And even then, it was by a margin of 3 completions. Meanwhile, he completely ignored the overall camp statistics that show Shedeur dominating in every meaningful category. This is statistical manipulation at its most obvious. When your overall performance is 49 of 70 with 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, but the media focuses on a single drill where you went 3 of 8, that's not analysis, that's agenda-driven narrative construction. The rep distribution during Shedeur's absence reveals even more damning evidence. NFL reps are currency in quarterback competitions. Every snap you take is an opportunity to build chemistry with receivers, to show coaches your decision-making, to put positive plays on tape. When Shedeur was sidelined, those reps didn't get distributed evenly among the quarterbacks. They went straight to Gabriel. This created a compounding advantage for Gabriel while simultaneously limiting Shedeur's opportunities to prove himself. It's the kind of systematic disadvantage that can determine the outcome of a competition regardless of talent level. Even more telling is how the organization and media handled Gabriel's poor performance during those extra reps. Despite his struggles with accuracy, despite his inability to complete passes outside of checkdowns, despite his overall inferior statistical performance, he continued getting opportunities while Shedeur watched from the sideline. The statistical evidence is clear. Shedeur Sanders has been the best performing quarterback in Browns training camp by every meaningful metric. Yet he's the one being questioned, criticized, and sidelined. That's not football evaluation. That's systematic suppression of superior performance to serve a predetermined agenda. When numbers this clear get ignored or manipulated, it reveals that the decision-making process isn't based on merit. It's based on something else entirely. And that something else is the NFL's fear of what Shedeur Sanders represents. What's happening to Shedeur Sanders isn't unique. It's part of a well-established institutional playbook the NFL uses to neutralize threats to their power structure. The league has perfected the art of destroying careers before they can challenge the established order, and Shedeur's treatment follows this pattern exactly. The playbook starts with narrative seeding. Before a player even gets a real chance, subtle questions get planted about their readiness, their character, their fit within the system. Tony Grossi's insistence that Shedeur needs a 4-year plan, not a 4-week plan, is classic narrative seeding. It plants the idea that Shedeur isn't ready now, regardless of his actual performance. Meanwhile, Gabriel gets positioned as the more polished, ready-to-go option despite statistical evidence to the contrary. This creates a false framework where Gabriel's struggles get explained away as growing pains while Shedeur's excellence gets dismissed as not sustainable or not meaningful. The next phase involves opportunity manipulation. This is where the arm soreness incident becomes crucial. By removing Shedeur from competition at a critical moment, the organization created an artificial advantage for their preferred candidate. Gabriel got extra reps, extra chances to build chemistry, extra opportunities to put something positive on tape. This isn't about medical precaution, it's about competitive manipulation. Shedeur himself explained that the soreness was just adjusting to starting and stopping, a normal part of NFL training that every rookie experiences. Yet somehow, only Shedeur got benched for it. The third phase involves perception management through complicit media coverage. Notice how Grossi immediately jumped on the arm soreness as a negative, mocking Shedeur for working too hard. Obviously, it was counterproductive because he's got a sore arm, Grossi said, turning dedication into a character flaw. But when Jimmy Haslam made dismissive comments about Shedeur's treatment, Grossi stayed silent. When Gabriel struggled during his extra reps, Grossi found ways to minimize the poor performance. This selective outrage reveals media complicity in the institutional agenda. The final phase involves outcome justification. No matter how the competition unfolds, the predetermined narrative gets reinforced. If Gabriel wins the job despite inferior performance, it will be because he was more ready or better suited to the system. If Shedeur gets buried on the depth chart, it will be because he needed more development time. This playbook has been used against countless players who threaten the NFL's comfort zone. Players who came with their own brands, their own followings, their own independence. The league has learned that it's much easier to destroy a threat during the development phase than to deal with an established star who can't be controlled. What makes Shedeur's case so obvious is how perfectly his treatment matches this established pattern. The narrative seeding, the opportunity manipulation, the perception management, the complicit media coverage, it's all there, executed with precision. The NFL isn't just trying to keep Shedeur Sanders from succeeding in Cleveland. They're trying to send a message to every future Sanders, every independent-minded player, every athlete who thinks they can succeed without submitting to institutional control. The message is clear: we will destroy your career before we let you threaten our system. The conspiracy against Shedeur Sanders represents something much larger than one player's career or one team's quarterback competition. It's a defining moment that will determine whether the NFL remains an old boys club or evolves into something that actually rewards merit over institutional preference. Think about what's really at stake here. If the NFL can successfully suppress a quarterback who's posting 49 of 70 completions with 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, if they can manufacture narratives that override statistical dominance, if they can coordinate media attacks that turn excellence into liability, then they've proven that talent doesn't matter. Only compliance matters. This has implications far beyond Shedeur Sanders. Every young player watching this situation is learning a lesson about how the league really works. They're seeing that superior performance doesn't guarantee opportunity. They're seeing that having the wrong last name, the wrong independence, the wrong refusal to submit can override any amount of on-field success. But here's what the NFL didn't count on: the fans aren't buying it. Cleveland's fan base has been loud, unified, and clear in their support for Shedeur. Social media has exploded with criticism of the organization's handling of the situation. Comments across Brown's social media show fans aren't naive about what's happening. This front office is a joke. You don't sideline a guy with stats unless you're trying to bury him, one fan wrote. How is Gabriel getting more reps than Shedeur when Gabriel can't hit a pass outside a check down, wrote another. The people watching from the dog pound are making it clear. If the Browns are trying to pull a fast one with Shedeur Sanders, they're not going to let it slide. This fan resistance represents something the NFL fears even more than individual player independence: loss of narrative control. For decades, the league has been able to shape public perception through compliant media coverage and institutional messaging. But social media has democratized information, and fans can see through manufactured controversies more easily than ever before. The Shedeur Sanders situation is becoming a test case for whether institutional power can still override obvious merit in the age of social media transparency. If the NFL succeeds in burying Shedeur despite his superior performance, despite fan support, despite statistical evidence, they'll have proven that their control is absolute. But if they fail, if Shedeur's talent forces its way through their systematic resistance, it will prove that the old playbook doesn't work anymore. It will prove that excellence can overcome institutional bias. It will prove that the Sanders family's independence isn't just sustainable, it's unstoppable. That's why this conspiracy goes so deep. That's why the coordination is so obvious. That's why the stakes are so high. This isn't just about whether Shedeur Sanders becomes a starting quarterback. This is about whether the NFL can maintain its traditional power structure in an era where talent, transparency, and fan engagement are challenging institutional control like never before. The outcome of this situation will determine the future of football. And the NFL knows it. The evidence is overwhelming. The statistical dominance ignored. The coordinated media attacks. The suspicious timing of the arm soreness. The systematic opportunity manipulation. The complicit silence when it matters most. This isn't about football evaluation. This is about institutional fear of another Sanders dynasty. Shedeur Sanders represents everything the NFL's old guard can't control: independence, star power, and the ability to succeed without their permission. His 49 of 70 completion rate with 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions proves he belongs on the field. But the conspiracy against him proves the league will sacrifice merit to protect their power structure. Tony Grossi's relentless attacks while staying silent about ownership's dismissive comments. Gabriel getting extra reps despite inferior performance. The manufactured controversy around normal training soreness. It's all connected, and it's all designed to destroy Shedeur's career before he can threaten their system. But here's what they didn't count on: you. The fans who see through their manipulation. The people who recognize excellence when they see it. The voices demanding fairness in a system built on institutional bias. This is bigger than Cleveland. This is bigger than one quarterback competition. This is about whether talent can overcome conspiracy, whether merit can defeat manipulation, whether the Sanders legacy can survive the NFL's systematic attempt to destroy it. The question isn't whether this conspiracy exists. The evidence is undeniable. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let them bury the most statistically dominant rookie quarterback in Browns camp? Are you going to accept that institutional power matters more than on-field performance? Drop your thoughts below. Share this video if you believe talent should triumph over politics. And let the NFL know that we're watching, we're not fooled, and we won't let them destroy another Sanders without a fight. The conspiracy is real. The evidence is clear. Now it's time to choose a side.